prevention for those of us out there that maybe lost someone in our family close to cancer, or have this like little niggling fear in our head that like one day it could be us. How do we not have that future? How do we prevent cancer?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is connecting with nature and the way that we live, and looking at the modern lifestyle is really the reason why we're sick. And so just starting to take stock of, okay, what are the things in my life that are disconnecting me from the way my body is designed to function. So making sure you're getting sunlight, and all the rays of the sun. So going out and getting early morning sunlight for the red light, and also in the evening, getting out in midday for vitamin D, grounding in the earth. These are very simple things that we have just lost touch, right? And we are living connected to our computers and working at night, eating all these, the wrong kind of things for our body that are convenient. So I think it comes back to looking at the way we used to live, and not saying that you need to go live outside and sleep on the ground, but it's like, if you're going to live in a house, recognizing that I'm disconnected from my natural environment and what my body and my mitochondria need. So, adjusting and doing those things, getting out and getting sunlight, grounding with the earth, or using a grounding pad, on your mattress to sleep, getting those inputs, eating whole foods, looking at the sugars. There's just so much inflammation caused by sugars and processed foods. So, eating a balanced diet, I think most people know that, but it's like, really being thoughtful about making small changes. And the other thing is that this is something that over the past couple of years I've really worked on in my own life, because now as I've become aware of all this, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get cancer, and actually my mentor said to me, when I went through, in 2022, I went through divorce, had to sell everything so that I would have like a nest egg. My mom died of cancer. I left my career of 20 years. And he was like, look, he's like, I'm not saying you're going to get cancer, but like, this is a perfect setup to get cancer. And so you need to be very intentional about how you're living. And so for me, it can be very overwhelming. And I think when someone's diagnosed, they're ready to throw everything out and get all new products and stuff. But someone who's looking at prevention, they're not motivated in the same way. And so for me, I'm like, okay, how can I do better today than I did yesterday? And just making small changes, like looking at the way you're eating, looking at, your day-night cycles, looking at what emotionally things can I work on to lighten my load, but making it not like some burden, but just more like, okay, I'm going to shift these things and progress over perfection, just a little bit at a time. And even if someone has cancer, I think actually that's a good approach, and not to feel like if I don't change everything, I'm just making myself sicker. It's like, no, you learn something today and you're going to do better, and then you're going to do better tomorrow. And then it gets easier. It kind of builds, the lifestyle builds on itself. But if you think you have to change everything at once, it's overwhelming.
Yeah. And as you make these small changes, and then you start to feel better, and then your intuition works a little stronger, and then you're clearer, and then you tap into new. So it does. It's like you just, baby steps.
That's actually really important. And that is why for me in my practice, I have kind of these 6 pillars, is because if you start doing these little shifts, you do become clearer. You become clearer channel for higher level information from a higher level of consciousness. And so the physical practices and the emotional work all tie together with the spiritual work, because you're starting to open and have less fear blocking you from who you really are. So you're absolutely right that the physical stuff leads to more awareness and more connection with divine guidance.
Less interference. Wow, that's good. Yeah. So cool. What are the 6 pillars?
So diet and supplementation, water, physical practices, which include like grounding, sunlight, sauna, detoxification, emotional work, the power of mind, and then spiritual practices. So really like the four, it's like emotions, physical, mental, and spiritual, but the physical I've broken down into water, diet, and physical practices because it's so big. There's just so many things in there. Yeah.
Turbo cancers. Are you seeing, a pop-up of cancers that are uncharacteristic, or obviously more and more people are getting cancer. People could have, theorize on why that is. Some people say it's the vaccine's effect on our immune system. Some people say it's the tail end of COVID messing with our immune system. Some people say it's just us being locked down and the stress and the nervous system and makes us more susceptible, and it's completely screwed up. So it could be one of those things. It could be all three of those things. It could be none of those things. But I do notice that cancer is on the rise in younger and younger healthy people. What are you noticing about turbo cancers, and will they respond to your approach in the same way, do you think?
Yeah, well, so turbo cancers are new, right? So this is new. We haven't seen those before, and it's definitely on the rise. And I think it fits with this whole idea of cancer as imbalance of increased toxicity and lowered immune function, and for all the reasons that you just described. So the vaccine is potentially increasing toxicity in the body, and then the experience of lockdown. And that was one of the things when 2020 happened. I remember in March just thinking, oh my goodness, like the things that they're telling people to do is like wrong. Like to actually heal the body, you want to connect with other people, and you don't want
air.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was so confused, and actually working in an oncology clinic during all of that, we never got to go home. Like everyone else was, working from home and doing televisits and stuff, and we were giving radiation, and actually it was very scary because we didn't know. Like there was just a complete void of information. But I did know that I was like, these things that we're telling people to do are not right. Like this is actually going to hinder their ability to heal if they do get sick. And so I think for all of those reasons, it makes sense that if cancer is this imbalance of toxicity, increased toxicity and lowered immune function, that the turbo cancers are related to all of those things, right? But I think that it is all the same. So and this is one of the things that I think is another fear. Like they were like, oh, well, turbo cancers now. And so now you can't, right. And so it's like, no, okay, so these are cancers that probably now people have increased toxicity for whatever reasons, and that it's the same. We need to balance the body. We need to detoxify. And this is the thing, is that I don't even think healing cancer is different than healing anything else. Mm-hmm. I think it's all the same, right? And so I see the fear raising about turbo cancers. And the one thing that I would say for people is don't buy into that. Yes, there are these cancers that we haven't seen before because we've introduced toxicity into the population in a way that we haven't seen before, but the principles are still the same. The body is miraculous. Mm-hmm. The body, like Anita is an example, it's never too late. It's never too aggressive. But if you think that it is, if you really buy into this story of these turbo cancers are really different, then maybe it's not possible. So from my perspective, I see it as a continuum, but within the continuum of cancer anyway, there are definitely cancers that are faster, more aggressive, and slower. But one of the interesting things is that when someone has an aggressive cancer, actually sometimes the potential to have better outcomes is associated with that because there's more of this like break and crack in the facade that someone who, and I see this in my practice, someone who has stage 4 cancer or an aggressive cancer is really like, I'm going to do it. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm going to do it.
I'm willing to do anything and everything and yesterday. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that there's opportunity in that to do miraculous things when your back's against the wall. And death is our greatest advisor. And sometimes being pushed up against that is where the true miracle opportunities are, available more easily. Mm-hmm. And I think there's like, the word crisis, so I think of cancer as a crisis, but the word crisis is 2 symbols in Chinese. The first symbol is danger, which makes sense, and the second symbol is opportunity. And so it's looking for that opportunity of what is here for me. And I think regardless of what your experiences, whatever you're facing, but looking at like, what about this? Like, what can I use to really push myself to change and transform to create something new? And when you have something that's really aggressive, you can use that, you know? And in the Tao Te Ching, one of the quotes in there is, the master uses everything. And so I encourage people, like, whatever's in front of you, use it to grow, use it to deepen your faith and your, you know, belief in what's possible.
Thank you for listening to the Heal with Kelly podcast. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. And make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. Oh, and if you found this episode inspiring, please rate, review, and share Heal with Kelly so that we can grow our audience and reach more people. We truly appreciate it. Lots of love.